Hi, I'm Sash Oberoi, and welcome to the channel called the Sash Oberoi Media. And here's a channel where I talk about things that I like and things which are important to me. Um, so I'm going to talk to you about what my 2018-19 Premier League predictions are for this season. Um, at 20th place, I think it's going to be Cardiff City, who's going to finish at the bottom of the league. The reason why I'm picking Cardiff is because they just don't have the quality of a Premier League side as such. Um, Last season, they overachieved in championship by getting promoted, and despite the fact that they have signed players like Bobby Reed, Victor Camarasa, Harry Arter, Callum Patterson, they just aren't good enough to stay in the Premier League because the current squad has to make the huge jump of getting in from the championship to the Premier League. So that's why I think they'll finish the bottom of the league. Um, Even though Neil Warnock is a good manager and he has shown some fighting spirit, they'll still finish at the bottom of the Premier League. In 19th place, it is going to be Southampton. The reason why I'm saying Southampton is because at the moment, Southampton is a pretty mismanaged team. Since Ronald Koeman has departed, uh, the black box method, where the club used to find players from around Europe and different continents to the young talents from different continents in Europe and bring them into the club for cheaper price and sell them for a higher value. That method is not really working anymore. So uh, e- even though they've got managers like they had managers like Puel, Pellegrino, and now Mark Hughes, the system is not working. The system which is there in place is not quite working anymore. Of course, the managers themselves are not at fault. Were not like full of problems themselves. They have their own problems, but unfortunately, the system which is present at the moment was not really working. Managers which were hired, they were the wrong appointment at the wrong time, but a lot of it is on the players too. Um, they don't have a really good home record at the moment. They score less goals than usual, and they even lost Virgil van Dijk in the January transfer window last season, which which is a huge hole to fill, and simply haven't filled it. Claude Puel was hired. He was decent. He got them up to eighth place, even though it's a distant eighth place and a cup final. On paper, it was a good season, but otherwise, it wasn't really a good season. Like if you look at the regression itself, it wasn't a good season. Mauricio Pellegrino, he performed really terribly the next season where he was hired because and he brought the worst elements of the squad on the pitch. The team lost confidence, whatever remaining confidence it had under Claude Puel, and now they just lack confidence to score goals and they are unable to keep clean sheets. Mark Hughes came in. He gave a sort of a new manager bounce, albeit it was a late new manager bounce only towards the last game of the season. But the fact was that he was about to get Stoke City relegated as well. And even though he kept Southampton up, it is still a dubious appointment at the very least. And I don't think so. He's going to last the season, and there just doesn't seem to be any plan at Southampton. Um, In 18th place, it is going to be Huddersfield. Huddersfield, in my opinion, are a good team in the sense that they are managed well. David Wagner is a good manager, and he has punched above his weight with Huddersfield. Has made Huddersfield punch above their weight rather, because they were a mid-table championship side. They stormed into the playoffs out of nowhere and got into the Premier League, and then survived the season after. All of their signings have been very intriguing. Alex Pritchard, Ramadan Sobi, and I think it is Abdul Hamid Sabiri. I'm not so sure about the and Isaac Mbenza and all these other players who have signed him to the club. They're young, talented players, but they are very good. They have good potential to develop. But unfortunately, at the moment, they don't have a good striker, a backup striker apart from Steve Mounier, who who was a decent striker for Huddersfield last season. But yeah, there's a problem. I'm going to sort that out. Uh, in 17th place, I reckon it's going to be. I reckon it's going to be Burnley in 17th. Now, Burnley is a team which overachieved last season, and they had a lot of good, rugged 1-0 wins. They came in 7th place under Sean Dyche. And because of the European hangovers they had, at least in the beginning of August, that really created an environment where there would be an inconsistent start to the season, and that's affecting them at the moment. I don't think Fulham. Uh, I don't think so. My bad. Burnley have the quality to stay up, but they don't have the quality to push on. They they have some good players with good fighting spirit, like maybe Sam Vokes, Robbie Brady, Ashley Westwood, James Tarkowski. Then they have players like Ben Mee, for example. Joe Hart. Joe Hart is a good keeper, but then he's lost confidence since his move to West Ham and of course Torino previously before that. Um, they have good keepers like Nick Pope. They've got three England keepers. It's crazy. Nick Pope, Tom Heaton, and Joe Hart. They should be having a stable backline, but but at the moment they're not performing the way they're supposed to be. So that's the thing. Chris Wood, the main striker who scored loads of goals last season, he'll be crucial for them, along with Sam Vokes and Ashley Barnes. Ashley Barnes and Johan Berg Goodmanson. So those players would be very, very crucial for them, those attacking players, if they want to stay up in the league. In 16th place, I reckon it's going to be Crystal Palace. Crystal Palace are a team which has a good core of players like Wilfred Zaha, Andros Townsend, Christian Benteke, James Tompkins, Joe Ledley, James MacArthur, all these Max Meyer. They have a good team and a good manager in Roy Hodgson. Roy Hodgson is a manager who's like really experienced, even though despite his failures at the international stage in Euro 2016. But then he has moved on and turned a corner at Crystal Palace late in his career. The signings which have been made, like Jordan Ayew could score a few goals. Max Meyer would be very crucial for them. But but then they don't have the capability to really push on and move up into the into the higher mid-table slots because They although they're good player, they have good players. They are really inconsistent, and they will need to really pick up points from now till the end of the season if they really have a realistic chance of finishing in the top 10. So in 15th place, I reckon it's gonna be Fulham. Yeah, Fulham have spent a lot of money. They've spent like above £100 million or something on good new players like Seri, Anguissa, Mitrovic, then Maxime Lemarchand, Sergio Rico, Joe Bryan, and various other players. Now these players they can help this team, and they can make this team comfortably get away from relegation. But their poor start of the season has really affected those chances. Uh, they played a very open game under Slavica Jokanovic, and which, although it's admirable to stick to your guns and go for what you really like, the style of play which you prefer, ultimately in the Premier League, you need to, if you want to survive, you will have to probably just go a little more conservative and maybe not park the bus, but be more responsible defensively. And now that Claudio Ranieri has been brought in, I think he's going to bring that to the squad, and they will survive in 15th place. 14th place, I reckon it's gonna be Newcastle United. Newcastle are a team which has been in perpetual turmoil since Mike Ashley took over, and that's not the fault of the fans, or that's not fault of uh, the manager itself. At the moment, they have Rafael Benitez as manager, obviously, so he's the only person who's keeping the club together. And the players, at this point, the players of Newcastle United don't lack effort. They may lack some quality in them all over the pitch, but like last season, they will survive because of the hard work they put in every game, and their relatively good goal difference compared to the teams near the bottom of the league. They have, I think, -6 or -5 goal difference, something. So because of that, they will survive, and the strikers will just score enough goals to get them over the line. Although the strikers are not very very good, if they invest something in January, which is unlikely under the current ownership of Newcastle, they will still survive. Because they have the effort levels to match other teams in the Premier League. In 13th place, now this 13th place and 12th place is a bit of a tough one. I reckon I'm gonna go with Brighton, Hove Albion, for this one, because yes, Brighton are a good team. They're a good team. They're a Premier League level team. They just don't have the quality to make it to the top eight slots in the Premier League, because sometimes it's because of the style of play, and sometimes it's because they just don't have the quality required to do it. I mean, they have some good players like Florian Andone or Andone. I'm not so sure how you pronounce that, but like Glenn Murray, Izquierdo, Jahan Baksh, uh, Pascal Gross, Lewis Dunk, Shane Duffy. These are good players. Matthew Ryan is a good keeper as well. So they have got a good core of players can start games, and they'll comfortably survive in the Premier League. There's no doubt about that, because the manager is smart enough to keep it conservative and he needs to keep it conservative, and smart enough to go attack when the team needs to attack. And they've got good attacking outlets in that team. It's not a team full of star players, a team full of big names, but they have a collective spirit about them which will push them over the line. I reckon in 12th place, it's gonna be. I think it's gonna be West Ham. I guess West Ham is a weird team, right? Like they have good attack. They've got they've got players like Lucas Perez, Andrea Yarmolenko, Manuel Lanzini, Felipe Anderson, Chicharito and Arnautovic. But those players at the moment they are very inconsistent. Even though like Pellegrini has a plan at West Ham United, I just don't think that they have enough to move up to the top eight. I mean, on paper they can, but the way they play in games, unless they sort out their midfield, they will not make it to the top eight. Where they aspire to be in the top eight, but they don't. But I don't think so. They'll make it to the top eight because of how the midfield is at the moment, and that's how it goes, right? And the defense has improved obviously at West Ham. They've got Issa Diop and Fabian Balbuena, and of course players like Declan Rice, Pablo Zabaleta, and Cresswell are really helpful. Even Angelo Ogbonna, you know, their strong point at the moment is their keeper, Lucas Fabianski. He's a huge upgrade on Adrian and Darren Randolph in the past, obviously. Uh, but they need to sort out their midfield. At the moment, they need to get one creative midfielder just to take the ball forward to the strikers. It doesn't need to be like a Dimitri Payet type, but more of a deep line, playmaker, just to feed it to the strikers. Hernandez is short of service, and Arnautovic can create goals. Although Arnautovic can create goals on his own, he seems like the only player who can create goals on his own. And the other players like Lucas Perez kind of misfiring. So 12 for me. 11th place, I reckon it's going to be Leicester City in 11th place. The reason why I say Leicester City in 11th place is because they have a good squad to break into the top 10 or 12, but they don't have a good enough squad to break into the top 7. Jamie Vardy will be crucial again. He's just a goal scorer, and he just doesn't. I mean, he's a guaranteed probably 15, 20 goal scorer, and it's very hard to find such players in a team which is mid-table, effectively. Claude Puel is a good manager, and he has created a good system at Leicester City. Although all the effects of it looks like there's a plan at Leicester City, even though the recent things have happened surrounding the club, and it is very sad news about the owner passing away and all of that. But then they've got a plan to survive, and they've got a plan to keep it sustainable. So I reckon they'll be okay this season and safe mid-table. In 10th place, it's going to be Wolves. Um, the reason why I think Wolves will come in the top half of the league is because Wolverhampton Wanderers has invested a massive amount of money, but they've invested intelligently. Even in the even in the summer, for example, if you compare to Fulham, for example, the amount of money they've spent is almost similar, but they have spent it on players who can help in developing a chemistry between each other. They have a huge Portuguese contingent. Players like Helder Costa, Juan Moutinho, Ruben Vinagre, Ruben Neves, and players in the Portuguese league like Willy Bolly. All of those types, Rui Patricio, they've got Raul Jimenez, those types of players. Now, those players have most of those players have come from the same league, and some of them are even all Portuguese, even. So that helps in developing the chemistry with even the manager being Portuguese as well. So they've got a solid group of players who can break into the top half of the league. Um, Wolves are a side you need to be cautiously optimistic about. It's a side which has the potential to break into the top seven, but at the moment it should be treated like a newly promoted club. That's why the expectations need to be lowered by the fan base and by general Premier League fans as well, because they can do it in the future. They can do something good in the future. In ninth, it's gonna be Watford. Watford are a side which has been performing very well under Javi Gracia. They were tipped for relegation, but Javi Gracia has turned this squad around, and the squad is very good. You know what? The squad is really good, and they have got a good bunch of cosmopolitan players who understand different footballing cultures and different styles of football, and that really helps. I think they have about 20 plus nationalities within their squad itself. So, and a good British squad like, Troy Deeney, Will Hughes, and Nathaniel Chalaba, Andre Gray, etc. I reckon the reason why they'll finish in ninth is because even though they started the season well, there'll be some a wobble in mid-season, particularly during the Christmas break, the Christmas region, in Christmas and New Year region, which will separate them from the teams finishing in seventh or eighth. But Javi Gracia has a plan, and he's stuck to it, and well done to him. Because even though they lost Richarlison, they have created a system which works, and they can do well this season in relative terms according to what their expectations are. Um, in eighth place, it's going to be Bournemouth. The reason why I'm saying Bournemouth is going to finish eighth is because they have a very stable ownership, and they have very stable. There are very stable conditions for a club to be done. Like Eddie Howe's been there for about 7 years or something. 7 years, I guess. I think it's 7 years. And those players have a hunger and desire to move forward up the table, and the fan base is completely behind them, and there's a huge amount of positivity and the unity behind this team. It is a good. There's a good feeling at the club. The club play good football, attacking football, and they want to build something for the future and continuously progress forward. And I think that forward momentum is going to push them to eighth place, even though they have only signed a couple of players. I think it is Diego Rico and Jefferson Lerma. I think those are the only two signings they've made this season. But that forward momentum is going to push them up to eighth place. In seventh place, it's going to be Everton. Right now, Marco Silva's Everton is in ninth place. Ninth place, I think it is ninth place. Yeah. So, but they're not in the top seven anyway. They're not. But the start has been very steady for them. The players are getting into the system, and they're getting integrated into the system completely. And if you compare that to 1 year ago, or even like 6 to 7 months ago, under Sam Allardyce, those players were defending for their lives, and although they were scraping 1-0 wins on a regular basis, the style of football wasn't good. And now if you compare that with Marco Silva's style of football, these players are playing good football. They're getting good results on the pitch, and they look like they can push on upwards to seventh place because if you compare their squad, the Everton squad, to the rest of the other teams in the rest of the teams in the Premier League apart from the top six, they have the best squad available to them. Players like Andre Gomez and Richarlison and Yerry Mina and Kurt Zuma, they'd be really crucial players for them. Cenk Tosun, if he can score a few goals this season, that'll be helpful. And Theo Walcott's pace, and he has kind of developed an end product at Everton, better than Arsenal, in fact. I mean, or more acceptable at Everton's level than Arsenal's level. So that those players and Sigurdsson would help them a lot. They are really, really important players for that system, and I reckon they'll be okay. They'll be seventh place. Sixth place, it's going to be Manchester United. Jose Mourinho has had a rocky start to the season. They're in eighth place, I reckon. They've had surprising defeats against West Ham, Brighton, and they lost against Spurs as well, and City. They just don't look good this season. They just they look very disjointed, and despite the talent on the pitch, under an attacking manager, that team would flourish a lot, and it's just not happening under Jose anymore. Like like Lukaku, for example, he was a 20 plus goal striker, and he's out of the team currently. And yeah, at the moment, Anthony Martial is performing well, but how much of it's down to him, really? It's not. It's obviously when someone doesn't perform, someone else has to step up. So that's how it works. Players who have been brought have not been played, like Fred and Diogo Dalot. And players who are providing some skill on the ball, they're not being played either. Let's take examples of Andreas Pereira. Fred, you can add Fred to that as well. He's a skillful midfielder. And players like Alexis Sanchez and Nemanja Matic have regressed completely, more than what they were expected to. And they've been regressing very quickly this season. And also players like Marcus Rashford and Jesse Lingard, they're not developing as quickly as they were expected to develop. Anyway, so in fifth place, I reckon it's going to be Spurs. Now, why I'm going to say Spurs in fifth place is because even though Mauricio Pochettino has created a system where everything is working very smoothly and very, very nicely. In fact, it was it's not like Spurs of before, like under Harry Redknapp and AVB and Tim Sherwood, where there was a lot of turmoil. Not I won't use the word turmoil, but more of a unstable environment to work in. Players were not performing up to their potential, and they had a very wild, haphazard recruitment strategy. Despite the fact they bought good players, but the managers did not know how to use them, or just both. Mauricio Pochettino has created a system where it's easy for the younger players to thrive. Youth is coming through. The Some of the signings who have been brought in are just fitting in seamlessly. Not quite seamlessly, but they have a role to play at least. and a well-defined role. So that makes a huge difference to them. But then the off-field stuff like the stadium and all that will probably make a difference. And if they have a certain amount of injuries, then especially to players like Harry Kane and Christian Eriksen or Dele Alli for that matter, that could really hurt their chances of making to the top four. In fourth place, it's going to be Chelsea. Yeah, I know Chelsea have started well. They many people are saying they're in the title race, and look, I reckon the current aim for Chelsea should be to make it to the top four, safe and sound. Because although yes, it's exciting to watch Sari play good football and everything, like Sari make a side play good football, and Hazard just thriving in this free role where he just can run past defenders and do whatever he likes to do. And players like Jorginho and Kante, Jorginho and Kante, they're basically controlling the midfield. But the thing is that Alvaro Morata is a problem for Chelsea. And despite the fact that he can hold up the ball and he has good movement, he has good vision and all that, a striker's primary aim is also to score goals. Is to score goals. And I don't think Alvaro Morata is cut out to be a top Premier League striker. And if Sari is given some money, or if he can bring a player from the youth academy to play as a striker, who has great finishing ability, then it'll be a good it'll be a good season for us. It's already a good season for us right now, but we can make it even better if we have a good striker. Ross Barkley's upturn in form has been very refreshing to see, and also the fact that David Luiz and Cesar not Aspilicueta, my bad. David Luiz has been brought into the has been brought back into the team, with Antonio Rudiger as his partner. That's really helping them a lot. Kepa has been really good, by the way. I won't talk about Kepa. I think he's a good keeper. The fact that we don't miss Courtois is one of the biggest things which Chelsea fans need to, talk about. The fact that Chelsea fans don't miss Courtois at all. It's like, wow, that's the impact of that Sari and Kepa have had in the season. So that's a great thing to see. Third place is going to be Arsenal. Now, the reason why I'm saying third place is going to be Arsenal is because Unai Emery has a plan at Arsenal, and under Emery, this team could really do wonders. Yes, they've lost their first two games against Chelsea and City, but this is after 22 years of Arsene Wenger. I mean, getting used to a new system completely after 22 years for many of the players who have played under Arsene Wenger is not easy, and it's expected that they're going to be teething problems at Arsenal. Lucas Torreira has been a good signing for them. Bernd Leno has been wonderful, wonderful player for Arsenal, and even Socrates has been good for them. Like Matteo Guendouzi, by the way, he is a hidden gem, and they credit to Unai Emery for finding him. Players like Emil Smith Rowe and Alex Iwobi are doing wonderful jobs at the moment at Arsenal, and also the strikers such as Aubameyang and Lacazette and even Danny Welbeck, they're firing. I mean, it's unfortunate that injury to Danny Welbeck. It's come at such a horrible time, by the way. But even players like Granit Xhaka and Mustafi, who were like ridiculed last season under Wenger, has kind of turned a new corner and started this new chapter and then they're proving themselves under this new manager. So that's good to see. Uh, They could challenge for the title. I think they're already challenging for the title. But if they win the title, they probably win it by a point or two. But let's see. Maybe they could do it. But I'm just saying third for the safe side. Second place is going to be Liverpool. Liverpool is a great team. Liverpool has a lot of positive energy at the moment. The signing of Van Dijk and Naby Keita, for example, they've brought in a lot of positivity to this club. The fact that the club was struggling under Brendan Rodgers after that unexpected title race in 2013-14, and you know, just him going to the extent of buying all these players, such as Balotelli, Lambert, etc. That was a time to for Liverpool fans to worry about. And then Klopp comes in and he just slowly but surely transforms the club into something which is in his image, and getting in players that suit the style of play rather than just buying players based on profile. Of course, that's necessary, but then again, you need to focus on the importance of improving players. Players like Trent Alexander-Arnold and Joe Gomez, they've improved a lot. Joe Gomez, by the way, was a Brendan Rodgers signing, I think, yeah. So, if you think about it, but the fact that that three-prong attack, Mohamed Salah, Roberto Firmino, and Sadio Mane are just like unstoppable at the moment. It is hard for any Premier League any Premier League defense to deal with them because they're so terrifying, like so quick, and they've got great finishing ability. Their midfield is stable. Jordan Henderson is proving to be a good captain, and they've got good players like James Milner. They've got like workman like players like James Milner. They've got a player who has a bit of flair like Xherdan Shaqiri. So those players, they are just doing great job right now, and everybody knows their role. Alisson, the new keeper at Liverpool, he has brought a lot of stability at the back. That is the level of transformation at Liverpool is just incredible, despite the fact that they didn't win trophies, but it is good. It is wonderful to see. Top of the league. It's obvious, isn't it? Manchester City, they're just another level. They're just like another planet. The players, when you can bring on players like Bernardo Silva and Leroy Sané off the bench and Ilkay Gundogan off the bench, you know how good your team is. There is no comparison. These players, Pep Guardiola can play Aguero as a striker. He can play Jesus as a striker. He can even play Sterling as a striker and interchange any other players around. Fernandinho has been crucial. Riyad Mahrez is proven to be a good signing for them. Even and the fact that they invested a lot of money on fullbacks is all paying off. Kyle Walker, Benjamin Mendy, all these players are just doing a wonderful job. The back line is okay. They play like front foot football, but then again, the defense has been incredible at this point of time. For me, there's another. I just don't want to say anything else. There's another level. They just are going to win it with a canter. They could go the season unbeaten, in my opinion. They're smashing sides 5-0, 6-0, or like these types of results. But anyway, so these are my predictions for the Premier League this season. If you enjoyed watching this video, please like, share, and subscribe. Thank you for watching.